Hello guys, good morning. How are you today? I hope all of you were doing good, we're doing fine, and we're in good condition. So this time, I'm Najwa Septya Agustien from 1A class from English department with NPM 1210611. I would like to finish my middle test about English literature. So I have a task to make a video presentation about English literature, and today I made this video to complete the middle test of English literature, the subject in my college. So without any further to do, I will explain about the Middle English period. Okay, so happy watching. So the Middle English period has four content. The first is introduction. The second is poetry. The third is prosaic, and the fourth is drama. Introduction. There was Edward the Confessor. He is descendant of King Alfred of Wessex in 1066. The Middle English period lasted from about 1150 to 1400 years and began with the death of the English king, Edward the Confessor. He is descendant of King Alfred of Wessex in 1066. During the reign of Edward for 20 years, he didn't experience much progress in the field of literature. The decline began with the invasion of the Scandinavians. The only remains are the construction of churches, including the Great Westminster Abbey Church. And because Edward had no descendant to replace him, and besides, the principle of heredity wasn't absolute in the monarchical system in England, the election of the king was determined by council. The council called the WITAN. Then there is a struggle of the throne. William, the Duke of the Normandy, and Harald Hardrade, the King of Norway, opposed the decision of Council WITAN, so that there is occur the Battle of Hastings. WITAN Council. WITAN Council is the council that elects the king. This council elects the king because King Edward had no descendant to replace him. Then the WITAN Council chose Harold, the son of Godwin, Earl of Wessex, as Edward's successor. But the decision was opposed by Harald Hardrade, the King of Norway, and William, the Duke of Normandy. So this is the picture of Harold, the son of Godwin, Earl of Wessex. The Battle of Hastings. The Battle of Hastings occurred in the Hastings area. In late September 166, the King's army of Norway invaded England via the north coast, but was repelled by Harold's troops. There comes an invasion from William. He is the Duke of Normandy. And William won, and Harold died in battle. Because the victory of William was able to ascend the throne in the British Empire, and since the Anglo-Saxon culture was heavily influenced by Normandy culture, the influences on the ascension of William, the Duke of Normandy. One is the entry of the Normandy aristocrats into England to occupy the place of the English aristocrats, most of whom had been killed in the war against William's army. 2. The emergence of a French-speaking for upper class and an English-speaking for lower class. The 3 is Normandy French was embedded in England and gave rise to the Anglo-Norman dialect until the 13th century. Domesday Survey. Domesday Survey is the relics of William I, which is quite important in the system of state administration. This is a system to find out detailed facts about all wealth and sources of wealth in England, whether in the form of humans, land, or livestock. To collect this data, William appointed special officers and assisted by local people called juries. The people who are sworn in and each of which consists of a local government official or reeve, cleric, and 6 people filings. And all the data obtained then processed and used as the basis for determining the amount of tax collection and recorded in a book called the Domesday Book in year 1086. In a book called the Domesday Book in year 1086. The important event that influenced the development of British society and culture in the Middle Age. The first is the Crusades. The second is the birth of the English Constitution or Magna Carta. The third is Parliament, and the fourth is the 100th War. The Crusade War. This war occurred between British and the Muslim who fought over the Holy Land of Jerusalem, which lasted for 2 centuries. 3 stages of the Crusade War are: the first is occur at 1096 until 1099, which captured the Holy Land from the Turks. Okay, so the second stage is occur at 1147 until 1150, which failed to expel the Muslims who had reoccupied the Holy Land. And the third stage was occur at 1189 until 1192, which also failed to seize the Holy Land from the hands of Sultan Saladin of Egypt. The result of the crusade was that Britain didn't succeed in capturing Jerusalem, but the crusade had a positive impact on the development of Western European civilization, including Britain, that are 1. Broadened the horizon of Western European about Eastern culture. Besides that, Western Europeans could learn about the trade of Eastern countries, which at that time were more advanced. 2. People can draw knowledge and philosophy from Eastern countries, such as the invention of paper and gunpowder. The Middle East is also a new source of large merchandise, such as the textile, perfumes, spices, etc. The Crusaders from England were King Richard I or Richard the Lion-Hearted, the son of Henry II, at year 1189 until 1199. Much of his life was spent in war, and government affairs were left to his younger brother John and the advisory board. Richard I was known as a formidable war general. The event that occurred in the middle of the 13th century. First is the emergence of disputes and division of the nobility in England and the nobility in France, resulting in the loss of all property rights of the British nobility in mainland France. And the second, there was a short rivalry between England and France that culminated in the 100 Years' War. Magna Carta. Magna Carta was born with King John II at Runnymede in middle 100 2015. Magna Carta was formed at the request of the nobility to limit John's arbitrary action. The Magna Carta contains was 1. Feudal rights and obligations must be obeyed by all parts, including the king, and consists of 63 articles that formulate the demands of the vassals regarding their rights and obligations as well as legal protection. 2. Provides the principle that the king, including his servants, must submit to a mutually agreed law. The king didn't have the privilege of disobeying him or changing its will. The Magna Carta became the main guideline for the British people in defending their rights. The Hundred Years' War. The Hundred Years' War, caused by a long political dispute between the British monarchy and the French monarchy. One source of dispute is the area of southern French, Gascony, which is still controlled by the British monarchy. Another source dispute is competition in the economic field, such as the production of wool textile in France, whose raw materials depend on England. At the end war, the French achieved victory and England lost all of their territory in France except Calais. Although England didn't win the war, this war had positive consequences for the British nation itself. The consequences of the Hundred Years' War. The first is the French or Anglo-Normandy spoken by the superior in England gradually faded and disappeared. And the second is parallel and increasingly widespread use of English among the upper class. At the end of the 4th century. 1. English recovers in its position as the side language in England. 2. The creation of the late English models, namely the Middle English model. Part 2. Poetry. In poetry period, there was Geoffrey Chaucer. Geoffrey Chaucer starts from year 1340 until 1400. And the second is William Langland. William Langland was born in 3032. The characteristic of Middle English language. The first is the original word have largely disappeared and been replaced by loanword of French origin. Second is the grammar has changed greatly because it has lost most of its inflection and making it more like modern English. The third is the creator of his word don't receive material incentive but receive spiritual encouragement. The creators are clergy who work in the midst of British people and therefore must use a language that the people understand. The fourth is English works don't get a market among the rich and powerful superiors. The fifth, the work is religious or educational. And the sixth, the work based on the scripture or Bible. The example of work based on the scripture. Omulum is a 12th century work of biblical exegesis written by a monk named Orm and consisting of less than 19,000 lines of early English rhyme. Due to unique phonemic orthography adopted by its author, this work retains many details of English pronunciation that existed at a time when the language was changing after the Norman conquest of England. The two is Ancient Recall. Ancient Recall was written in the 13th century, contains a advice on the religious way of life. 3. The Owl and the Nightingale at 1195. This is tells of a debate between two birds, each of which represent a life based on religious laws and morals and a life of fun. This is the earliest example in Middle English of the literary form known as debate poetry or poetry contest. And the 4 is Brut at 1200. Brut is a historical work by Layamon, a clergyman, based on the poem which the title is Roman de Brut, written in French. This work tells about English history, which is actually more of a legend, where King Arthur and his Satna play an important role. In the 14th century, there are 1. The recovery of English as a single language in England. 2. The development of a literature which is the principle of English literary achievement in the Middle Age. 3. There was a Geoffrey Chaucer who was an English writer, poet, philosopher, diplomat, and bureaucrat. And 4 is there was a writer, the name is William Langland. Chaucer famous works in the 14th century. 1. Troilus and Crusade, which is a popular love story in medieval times. 2. The Canterbury Tales is a realistic and humorous story that provides an overview of the types of people that existed in society at that time. In more detail about the story of a scholar from Oxford to a simple farmer. Geoffrey Chaucer poems usually revolve around heroes or extraordinary people who are moved in an imaginary world and usually follow realism. William Langland. William Langland was born in 1332 and he has works. The title is Piers Plowman. Piers Plowman is a social allegory that emphasizes hard work and honesty aimed at entertaining superior groups like most poetry at that time. Ballads is a poem that circulated by words of mouth among the common people. An example of ballad is Robin Hood, which is a reflection of the livelihood and feelings of the common people in England. The ballad about the division of the nobility in England versus French in the middle 13th century is reflected in English literature. The characteristic of ballad is 1. Not clear the creator and origin, and 2. It contains a story. Romance stories. The example of romance stories are 1. Chanson de Roland by Norman. 2. Yunnan and Roma stories. 3. King Arthur. An example of a King Arthur story that is most popular because of its beautiful story and language is Sir Gawain and the Green Knight. 4. Poem clearness. 5. Patience rhymes. 6. The Pearl Poem. Part 3. Prosaic. In Prosaic period, there was a John Wycliffe of the year 1324 until 1384. He is a religious leader and a scholar known as a Bible translator. He is an accomplished prosist whose translation could spread his prose style throughout the country, which could have. He is an accomplished prosist whose translation could spread his prose style throughout the country, which could help establish standard English. An example of the translation is Voyage and the Travail of Sir John Mandeville or Mandeville Travels. This translation from French. the French influence which are reflected to the work of Chaucer. 1. Many languages borrow thousands of French words. 2. The type of literature is romance. 3. The atmosphere style is bright and simple. 4. Various forms of poetry. The characteristic of literature in Old English period that was almost non-existent in the Middle Age. 1. Always gloomy. 2. The language style is heavy and complicated. 3. The form of the poem is only limited to alliteration. Part 4. Drama. Drama was began to grow in the church as a medium used by clergy to give more clarity to their Latin language. The clergy show passages from the life of Christ or scans from the scripture. The Latin language is gradually replaced with English language. Drama was found throughout England since the 13th century. With the drama, secular tendencies also emerged as an interlude to heavy religious plays that were built by the business unions or guilds, but were still under the supervision of the church. The types of drama. There is two types of drama. The first is miracles drama. Miracles drama tell the lives of saints. And the second is mysteries drama. Mysteries drama, the themes is from the Bible. I have one quote for you. This is a quote, words full of wisdom that someone important said and can make the reader get inspired. Okay, so that is from me. I'm sorry if there is any mistake from what I say. Do you have any question? All of you can ask anything to me about this material with comment column. Comment. Bye. See you in the next video. Thank you for watching. Wassalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.